It was supposed to be a simple morning. I'd just finished my workout and decided to take a walk through the neighborhood to clear my head. Dressed in sweats and a hoodie, I blended in with the early risers going about their day. As the chief of police, I cherished these quiet moments away from the uniform and the badge. A chance to be just another person, free of titles and responsibilities. I was halfway down Main Street when I noticed a patrol car parked at the curb. 2 officers leaned against it, chatting and sipping coffee. I nodded in their direction, out of habit more than anything else. They didn't nod back. Instead, their conversation stopped, and I felt their eyes on me as I walked past. "Hey you," one of them called out. I stopped, turning around. The older officer, a burly man with a square jaw, waved me over. His partner, younger and visibly unsure, stayed quiet. "Is there a problem?" I asked, keeping my tone calm. The older cop stepped closer, looking me up and down. "We've had reports of suspicious activity in the area. Mind telling me what you're doing out here?" I blinked, taken aback. "I'm walking." He crossed his arms. "Walking where? To meet someone, maybe?" "You live around here?" I inhaled deeply, biting back my frustration. "I'm just walking," I repeated. The younger officer shifted uncomfortably, glancing between me and his partner. "Maybe she's just exercising," he mumbled. But the older one ignored him. "What's in your pockets?" he demanded. "Excuse me?" "Empty your pockets. Now." I felt a wave of indignation rise in me. I knew my rights, and I knew this wasn't standard procedure, but I also knew how these encounters could escalate if handled the wrong way. So I slowly pulled my hands out of my hoodie pockets, showing him they were empty. "See? Nothing," I said, my voice steady. But it wasn't enough. He took a step closer, invading my personal space. "Turn around," he ordered. "We're gonna do a quick pat-down." "No," I said firmly. The younger officer finally spoke up. "Sarge, maybe we should just let her go. She's not doing anything." But the older cop silenced him with a glare. "She's acting suspicious," he snapped. "If you're not hiding anything, you won't mind a quick check." I looked him in the eye. "This is harassment," he smirked. "Call it what you want. Now turn around." Before I could respond, a small crowd began to gather. People paused in their tracks, pulling out phones to record the scene. I heard murmurs of disbelief and saw the concern in their eyes. "You're making a mistake," I said, my voice low but firm. The older officer laughed. "Yeah? And why's that?" I reached into my hoodie, slowly pulling out my badge. I held it up for everyone to see, the gold shield gleaming in the morning sun. "Because I'm your boss." The silence that followed was deafening. The younger officer's eyes went wide, and he took a step back, his face pale. The older one froze, his smirk vanishing instantly. "I'm Chief Renee Daniels," I said, my voice calm but commanding. "Chief of police for this city, and you just stopped me for walking." The older officer stammered, his confidence crumbling. I didn't realize." "Of course you didn't," I said sharply, "because you didn't bother to ask. You assumed, based on how I look, that I didn't belong here. You assumed I was a threat." He opened his mouth to respond, but I held up a hand. "Save it. I'm not interested in excuses." The younger officer stepped forward, his voice shaky. I tried to tell him." I looked at him, my expression softening slightly. "And I appreciate that. But trying isn't enough. You're a team. If you see something wrong, you need to speak up, loudly. Lives depend on it." He nodded, his face red with shame. By now, the crowd had grown larger. Someone in the back clapped, and soon others joined in. The sound wasn't celebratory, it was defiant, a reminder that accountability matters. I turned back to the officers. "You'll both report to my office this afternoon. We're going to have a long conversation about profiling, respect, and the responsibility that comes with wearing that uniform." The older officer nodded stiffly, his face etched with regret. The younger one muttered a quiet, "Yes, Chief." I glanced at the crowd, then back at the officers. "Now get back to work, properly this time." As I walked away, I felt a mix of emotions. Anger, frustration, but also hope. This wasn't the first time I'd faced bias, and it wouldn't be the last. But every confrontation like this was an opportunity to teach, to demand better, and to remind people of their worth. That day wasn't just a lesson for those 2 officers. It was a reminder for everyone watching that justice doesn't come from a badge or a title. It comes from standing up for what's right, no matter who you are.